Hey, welcome to the 117th Estate. This is basically where I look at news articles that I found interesting and read through them and sort of distribute the news to people who don't like to read articles. I don't even like to read articles. I just found these interesting and I thought maybe my YouTube channel should get some more content, so I'm just going to read through them. What we have up for this week is that Trump allegedly kissed a campaign aide named Alva Johnson at a Tampa rally in 2016. Um, Colorado is trying to pass a bill that will circumvent the Electoral College. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez discussed the living wage, and the Green New Deal, according to some sources, where considered more right-leaning sources, can be anywhere up to $94 trillion. Let's start with the Alva Johnson case, or Alva, or Eliva. I have no idea how to pronounce it. We're going to watch this video, give it a rundown, and then we'll read the article, and I'll give my thoughts on it.
As he was leaving the RV, he had to pass her, and he stopped and he took her hand, and she said, "Mr. Trump, I've been working very hard for you. I've been away from my family. I want you to go out there and kick ass." And he took her hand and with both hands and said, "I know you've been working hard for me. I won't forget you." And Ms. Johnson, who was wearing a baseball cap at the time, noticed that Mr. Trump started to move in towards her. And she didn't really know what to make of it. She was thinking to herself, maybe he's trying to hug me, what's happening? And then as he got closer, she started to think, maybe he's trying to kiss me. And she tried to move her head away at the last second to avoid as he came in for this kiss. Keep in mind, she had a baseball cap on and was moving her head, and yet he persisted enough to be able to actually land a kiss on the corner of her mouth.
Okay, this is a lawsuit, so it hasn't been confirmed. We need to take this as alleged. Donald Trump is not being convicted of anything. Nothing is concrete. We don't know. Things that we do know. There have been a slew of hoaxes towards the right as of late, and it seems odd that a person who would obviously, that could have, brought this up in court, or brought this up 2 years ago, or, well, actually 3 years ago now, is all of a sudden, coming out about it. I don't know, it could be true. Donald Trump could have easily done this, and if he did, we should condemn it, but we should not jump up on him now because this has not been proven. This is just an accusation. There have been a lot of accusations been thrown at him. The White House denies allegations brought in lawsuit by Alva Johnson, and they're calling them absurd. Okay, let's read through this. A former campaign staffer who worked on Donald Trump's 2016 campaign has sued the president, alleging he kissed her without consent. At least they're saying allege. A lot of news outlets now don't even say allegedly. They're just like, oh, he did it. If you read on Twitter, it's like, oh my god, he did it. Homophobic attack, Jussie Smollett. Oh, look at that, right there. Jussie Smollett. Okay, I immediately felt violated because I wasn't expecting it or wanting it, she told the Washington Post. I can still see his lips coming straight from my face. Like I said, if this happened, that's terrible, and we should totally call the president out for it. And we should investigate and see if it's true, because, it's an allegation. To defendant Trump, however, Ms. Johnson was nothing more than a sexual object he felt entitled to dominate and humiliate, the lawsuit read. Like he has done with so many other women, defendant Trump violated norms of decency and privacy by kissing Ms. Johnson on the lips without her consent in the middle of a Florida work event in front of numerous other campaign officials. The White House has denied the allegations. This has never happened, and is directly contradicted by multiple highly credible eyewitnesses, which is important, because if that is true, then this case can be literally dismissed. If everyone who saw them together was like, nah, he never tried to smooch her face, it's not a problem. Sorry about that. Honestly, at this point, this seems like a non-story. Like, there isn't evidence, you know what I mean? Like, it's just someone's word against Donald Trump, right? Like, there's no, pictures, no video, there's nothing tangible to prove this, so this is a non-story. I don't understand why it's being reported, but I thought it was interesting because of all the controversy coming out, like Covington Catholic, Jussie Smollett, all these things happening recently, so I thought, maybe we should go over it. Ms. Johnson spoke about the alleged incident to several of her loved ones, including her mother, stepfather, and boyfriend, all of whom confirmed they spoke to the former staffer at the time about the ordeal. An attorney she met with in Florida told the Post he had found her story to be credible and referred to her therapist, but did not take her case for business reasons. That doesn't really make sense. If she met somebody to get an attorney to do this, and they found it credible, why would they not take the case or refer them to someone who could take the case? If the story was true, if they believe they could prove the story, wouldn't it have made more sense to push this earlier? She named 2 eyewitnesses. She said saw the incident who denied seeing the interaction. One of those eyewitnesses is Ben Bondi, former Attorney General, who received 25 donations from a political committee from Trump Foundation that became subject of investigation. Okay, but that's important, well, honestly, that seems like a bad idea anyway. Why would she name a witness that is tied to Trump so heavily? I mean, they were at a Trump rally, so, I mean, you can't really blame them for being tied to Trump. But still, this just seems oddly going nowhere. The Post detailed a lengthy reporting process that involved reaching out to the former staffer, who said she contemplated telling her story after the controversial Access Hollywood tapes featuring Mr. Trump bragging about sexual assault nearly a year ago. Okay, this probably would have been a good time to do it. But I don't understand why is this happening now? If it's true, I hope she gets justice, but this just doesn't seem like something that could really that's really happened. There's no evidence. Okay, only thing to, I've been on the road for you since March, away from my family. Johnson let you tell the president you're doing an awesome job. Go in there and kick ass. Okay. That's when she said the future president grasped her hands and leaned in for a kiss. He's coming straight for my lips, he told the Post. So I turned my head and he kissed me on the corner of my mouth, so holding my hand the entire time. Then he walks on out. This isn't the only lawsuit involving... Yes, there's a lot of lawsuits, which are going nowhere. These lawsuits are going nowhere. Okay, yeah, so basically this is the non-story. I was hoping that maybe as I read this, something more would come out of it, but it just literally just seems some lady accused someone of doing something, but there's no proof of it happening, and one of the witnesses that she brought to prove her point doesn't believe her. Okay, this doesn't really seem like much. I mean, if more of it comes out, I'll talk about it more, but let's move on to the next story. Actually, give me my opinion. I'll give you my opinion first. Non-story doesn't seem that interesting. You really can't prove this, and if it gets proven, let's charge the president. But I don't really think it happened. Okay, let's move on. The Electoral College with Colorado. Colorado governor will sign bill aimed at bypassing Electoral College. This is interesting. Let's watch this short clip, and then we'll have a discussion about it.
Governor Jared Polis will sign a measure to award his state's electoral votes to the winner of the national popular vote, moving a countrywide coalition one step closer to circumventing the Electoral College. In an interview Sunday, Polis called the Electoral College a undemocratic relic of the nation's past, one he wants to see relegated to the dustbin of history. Quote, "I've long supported electing the president by who gets the most votes," Polis told The Hill. "It's a way to move towards direct election of the president. Colorado will become the 12th state to join the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact."
Okay, this is dangerous. Okay, let me give a rundown. Most people think, whenever they think of the Electoral College, or voting, that you're like, a lot of people got mad about this in the 2016 election, that Hillary Clinton won more votes, but Donald Trump won. And it's like, well, wasn't it make more sense that if the majority of people that vote, that means that should be the winner? Not necessarily, because the whole point of the Electoral College is to avoid the tyranny of the majority. The idea that it's like mob mentality, right? Like, the mob should not dictate how people live their lives, and the Founding Fathers understood that smaller states and smaller states in the Union could be subject to tyranny to the states that have a bigger population. Like, yes, Hillary Clinton got a lot of votes, but she really doesn't understand the struggles of, random Cole County, Kentucky. You know what I mean? Like, she wouldn't have the best interest, have their best interest in mind. So you have to have some sort of safeguard for smaller states. And removing the Electoral College takes that away, and literally the Democrats would only win. They would probably only win the elections because they control big cities. They have a good chunk of the population on their side, and that's why the Electoral College exists, to prevent that from happening. Let's continue on. In an interview Sunday, Polis called the Electoral College an undemocratic relic of the nation's past, one he wants to see relegated to the dustbin of history. That's not necessarily true. Popular vote does not mean democratic. A lot of our votes are based off of 2/3, 3/4. Nothing doesn't have to be an exact 51 51 to 49 vote. That's not how everything works. So it being completely split by half and half and then a little bit more on one side, that doesn't necessarily mean it's democratic. It's more complicated than that. Okay, I've long supported the president who gets the most votes, Polis told Hill. It's a way to move towards direct elections of the president. We already have direct elections of the president. We vote for representatives that vote with the Electoral College. That's the whole point of voting. The popular vote really doesn't mean anything. It keeps things balanced. It keeps things from swaying too far to the left or too far to the right. If let's say most big cities were controlled by conservatives, the Democrats would probably be pushing bills to maintain the legitimacy of the Electoral College, because then I honestly just see if the Democrats are worried that they're not going to win elections anymore, because they may have the majority vote, but they don't have the people's vote. They don't have Middle America's vote. They don't have the Rust Belt's vote. They don't have Southern California's vote, deep Southern California's vote. Let's go deeper into this. Under national popular vote, the 38 non-battleground states long ignored by presidential campaigns will be powerful again, because no candidate can win 270 electoral votes in the White House without also winning the popular vote across all 50 states of the District of Columbia, said John Kusler, who chairs National Popular Vote, the group that supports the Interstate Compact. That's an interesting point. A lot of states do seem to get tossed away, but you gotta remember, they're not really, because even though they're non-battleground states, if you don't care about them at all, they're not going to vote for you. And yeah, there are big states that are important, but if you lose these states, you're probably not going to win either. Okay. So far, only reliably blue states have joined the compact, including California. Yeah, but red states like Arizona and purple states like Michigan and North Carolina passed the measure through at least one legislative chamber controlled by Republicans, giving backers hope of breaking through with the GOP. That's interesting. It seems like it seems that it may not just be a partisan thing, that it may be a bipartisan issue that some Republicans also feel are true. And if that's true, that's interesting. But I don't think we should ignore the Electoral College. It's a very important part of how our democracy runs, and it would really hurt rural states. Okay, let's move on to the next story. Ocasio-Cortez, living wage for staff is common sense policy. The next time GOP screams socialist, New York Democrat says in reaction to Fox News hit job, know that they are go to attack for any common sense humane policy. Maybe socialist is very specific, and a living wage is kind of a socialist policy. It's just saying, it's not a very moderate left policy. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez paying living wage to staffers to ideas Fox News considers communism. Okay, that's a little hyperbolic, but if they said it, they said it. GOP is so disconnected from the basic idea that people should be paid enough to live that Fox actually thinks me paying a living wage in my office is communism. So the next time GOP screams socialists, know that they'll go to attack for any common sense. Okay. Well, if you want to choose to pay your staff a living wage, which a living wage is a debated issue anyway. What counts as a living wage? Something that you can pay all your bills, or working class, or does that mean paying moderate middle class? Let's see. Congress pays interns $15 an hour, a pledge she made in December. Okay, so that's what you consider. Okay, that's what she considers a minimum, a living wage. Isn't that what you want to raise the minimum wage to? That's interesting. I feel like it's a waste of taxpayer dollars, because they're not worth $15. They're not worth $15. Like, if they're being paid a certain amount, it usually means because that's how much their labor is worth. But I mean, if she wants to pay them $15 an hour, sure. But I don't think she should really be attacking people for not thinking the living wage is a good idea, because it's not going to be a good idea in all the places. You know, someone who lives in rural Kentucky does not need to be paid $15 an hour for working, you know, a job as a secretary. Like, that's unnecessary. You don't need that much money in like Kentucky or in like parts of Alabama. You know, maybe in California where like people are going broke and fleeing the state, but I feel like she's just speaking from a position that's very based on where she lives, and it's not something that you can rally rural voters behind. Okay. The congressman expanded on the idea in a longer post on Instagram, saying that her office was constrained by its allotting budget, but that she wants to ensure her staff could survive in one of the nation's most affluent cities. If you can't pay them, don't employ them. And if they can't afford to work for you, then they should find a different job. Only people who work 80 plus hours a week with multiple jobs without an outside life or whose parents can supplement their pay can have the opportunity to work in the nation's capital. That is not true. That is not true. There are tons of people who work in Washington, D.C. who live there and, you know, aren't freaking taking loans from their parents. That's hyperbolic, and that's a very general statement. I don't think a politician of your caliber should be making such broad claims. Also, that's a really kind of freaky picture for them to post. God, she is horrifying. Sorry, being a little hyperbolic, but still, okay. That has real consequences for governments being out of touch with people who serve on all levels. That is the most hypocritical statement I've ever read in my entire life. That has real consequences for government being out of touch with the people we serve on all levels. She is completely disconnected from rural America and right-leaning America and moderate America, like, for God's sake. Like, the Green New Deal is completely partisan. She's a partisan hack at this point. Oh my God. This is not... That's such a stupid statement to make. Okay, in my office, we do our best to practice what we preach and pay a living wage to all $52K minimum for all full-time staff. To be honest, I wish our budget allowed us to make it higher. Well, I mean, you can wish things, but you work for the government. You're not... Okay, you're campaigning for one single representative who represents, like, what, 15,000 voters? Okay. Does that, let's say your staff consists of 10 people. That's what? Over $500,000? Including your pay, which I don't know how much money you make. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of taxpayer money. Wow, that's like I know in the grand scheme of things the budget's not a lot of money, but still, like, if you think about that, and let's say all Democrats took up this plan, you know, all of the people that hold positions in the House and the Senate, that's a lot of money. You know, I don't know how much people work for or course. It's gonna be 2 people. It's gonna be 1 person and a dog. I have no idea, but still, like, it just seems like. I mean, if they're worth $15, sure. I don't know what they do. Like, represent a politician who makes up 1 vote in Congress and literally won by primary baiting? The math doesn't add up there. I don't think that's really worth it. Okay, let's not forget that something like 34,000 take home, or around 28,000 in the city, where average rent is 2K plus. Then live outside of DC. You know, like, you don't have to live in DC to work there. Like, yeah, the commute's gonna be worse, but you don't have to live there. And there are obviously gonna be cheaper options to place. A lot of people sleep in their office. Like, well, people shouldn't have to do that. Well, you chose to work here. You chose this job. It's not up to the people to pay you any more than what you're worth. And if you're not worth more, then I'm sorry. Like, If you want to pay people $15 an hour, that's up to you, but you better use your budget, because then you're just taking more money from taxpayers. Okay, if Ocasio-Cortez tries to address the latter issue, the same attacks on socialism will likely be leveled against her. As all the congresswomen noted in her tweet, that's their go-to attack for any comes with humane policy. God, okay, well, this is a partisan news journal, obviously. Well, I mean, it's gonna be an attack. We're gonna call it socialism because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a member of the DSA. Like, she is a self-proclaimed socialist. So policies that she enacts, we can call socialist because she is working towards enacting socialism in America. Oh my God, these backwards thinking hacks. Okay, let's move to a more partisan news to the right to get a counter to this. The Green New Deal. Green New Deal. Price tag could be $94 trillion. That's more than $650,000 per American household. Oh my God, that's a lot of money. I don't know if this is true, but that's a lot of money. I kind of trust the Blaze. The Blaze is a little partisan, but like they are partisan, but like they typically report news accurately. Okay, what are the details? Analysts at American Action Forum, a right-leaning think tank, distilled the 10-year plan down to its policy basics in order to figure out the cost of its diminishment. A 10-year transition to exclusively local... Okay, you can read through all of this. That's actually in the Green New Deal. Here I actually have the Green New Deal pulled up by NPR's thing that they had. But... Okay, let's see. There was healthcare, guaranteed housing for every American, and food security for every person in the United States. A told researcher found that the 10-year price tag could be as high as $94 trillion, which breaks down to annual cost per household will be that's a lot. That's a ton of money. According to the Washington Free Beacon, Senator John Barrasso, Republican in Wyoming, who chairs the Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works, responded to the report by saying the American Action Forum analysis shows that the Green New Deal would bankrupt the nation. Sounds like it. I don't know if this is completely true. Like, I mean, I probably need to see more news articles bring up this price point, or like look at the research behind it. But if this is true, it's a fucking ton of what. That's almost 5 times the national debt. That's insane. The Republicans haven't been the only critics of the plan. On the Washington Post editorial board launched the first in a series of articles aiming at proposing its own Green New Deal. The board slammed the current plan proposed by Senator Edward Markey, Democrat of Massachusetts, and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, saying they should not middle this aspiration with other social policies, such as creating federal jobs guarantee. Yeah. They wanted to guarantee, let me rephrase that. That's not the same thing, but they also wanted to guarantee in the Green New Deal, people being able to live, like, even if they choose not to work. Like, not because they can't work, but because they don't want to work. And the Post went on to say the current plan, floated by oil markets, is so monumental the country cannot afford to waste dollars in this pursuit. Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, like, let's look at the Green New Deal. The top 1% of earners accruing 90% of gains in the first few years of economic. A large racial wealth divide amounting to the difference of 20 times more wealth between the average white family and the average black family, and a gender earnings gap that results in the women earning approximately 80% of. I don't know about the black family statistic. I'd have to look into that. But the gender earnings gap is literally the stupidest thing. Okay, let me explain this for anybody who doesn't know. The wage gap or the earnings gap, like, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people call it the wage gap, but it's like that's actually used as a proper term. The earnings gap basically describes the difference in the amount of money men and women make on average. A lot of people think that this is proof that men make more money than women. It's not as simple as that. Women generally pick lower paying jobs. Men work more hours. Women take more time off. Like, there's a lot of factors that contribute to it. It almost has nothing to do with gender. It has almost everything to do with choice. You can look this up. There's a lot of people that talk about this. Just look up gender pay gap debunked on YouTube or something. Or maybe I could do a video on it. I have no idea. It's extremely backwards thinking. The Green New Deal is so stupid. Well, they want to replace... the Green New Deal talked about how they want to replace airplane travel with trains. And also having it so that all of our power goes 100% to renewable. That's not feasible right now. Because the parts that require making, like, wind turbines and stuff are petroleum based. And petroleum based means using petroleum, which is greenhouse gases. So even making the parts that make renewable resources, renewable energy, is not renewable. And also, it's not reliable. So, there you go. That's all the news for today. Tell me your thoughts, whether or not I should keep doing this, if I was stupid, if I'm completely wrong and I'm retarded, in the comments below. Check me out on Minds. I have a link in the description. Check me out on Twitter. Check out my Instagram. I haven't really posted on my Instagram yet, but I'm going to be working on it. Follow me on all these different things, and I will catch you guys later.